I have found that tutoring is one of the most important aspects of my pre-teaching career that I have began doing since joining college in 2016. In the fall of 2016, I was recruited by my English professor to possibly become a reading and writing tutor in the college's Center for Reading and Writing. I soon found out that when taking the course in spring 2017, that tutoring will become one of the most important things on my career path to education. So, a little bit about the background that comes to my research of tutoring styles and adapting my own tutoring philosophy based on the styles of academics that have influenced the field and the background of tutoring. Through my training, I have become a certified reading and writing tutor. That happened after the spring of 2017 when I took a course on campus called English 263. I am now presently a staff member of the Center for Reading and Writing, which has allowed me to adapt my personality, but also test out these theories that have been taught and instructed and written about by these different academic critics. So, another field of tutoring is the assisting with tutoring, which is something that I had to do during my training. And it's interesting to see how other academics, like the professional and faculty tutors on our own campus, adapt and have their own methods when it comes to tutoring. One of the academics that resonates best with me would be that of Jeff Brooks. Jeff Brooks wrote a paper called Minimalist Tutoring, Making Students Do All the Work. And throughout the speech, you're going to learn a little bit more about what it means to be a minimalist tutor. Now, minimalist tutoring does not work for every individual that may walk into the Reading and Writing Center, but it works for the most part. Sometimes you have to adapt, but that would come with experience as a tutor. Another guide that would help a tutor is the Bedford Guide for Writing Tutors. Now, it's not something that exactly teaches you these different methods of how to become a tutor, but it also assists with questions or concerns that a person may have when they are completing their tutor training, but also when they are a tutor, because sometimes things arise that even the most prominent English faculty doesn't even understand. And lastly, Dr. Christina Liu has been big to my research into tutoring and different tutoring methods because she has shown that not each method works, and that even if you do find a method and an academic whose work works well for you and your own methods of tutoring, that it all comes down to the students that we have on our campus that we serve every day. Now, a tutor's personality has effects on not just the atmosphere that they're teaching, but also the student or client. Now, a student or client comes to the Writing Center looking for assistance. If a tutor has a bad personality or a bad idea or view of that student or client, that's going to affect the relationship between the tutor and the client. Now, having a bad relationship with someone is okay from time to time, but that is the instance where it would be better for you to hand off your student to a different tutor or someone else working in the Writing Center, because you don't want your own personality as a tutor to affect that of the students that you're working with. It's our job as writing tutors to make sure that a student feels comfortable and is able to work. That being said, Brooks and Dr. Liu also argue that even the personality of the students can have a reverse effect on the tutor. By having a student whose personality might not mesh with you or has views that might affect you in different ways, it's okay as a tutor to remove yourself from a situation that you feel uncomfortable with and find someone else who might be better off or more comfortable taking that session. Now, the first meeting in a writing center for any student or academic can be a little bit shaky, we'll say. Now, what I mean by shaky is someone might come into the writing center thinking that they need some sort of assistance, but they also might come in and worried and panicked. Now, English is one of the hardest languages that people have to learn. Now, even if you're an English first person and not an ESL student, then you even struggle with the different mechanics and grammar that come up. Even the most purposeful academic can't feel comfortable 100% of the time with the things that he or she is learning or has learned. Sometimes rules in English just don't merge, or you just forget about them as you try to learn other skills. No writer is perfect, and that's why we have editors and tutors and anyone who can assist these students, clients, academics, etc., to make sure that their work can be perfected, but also help them learn the skills so the next time they do a piece of writing, they're able to take the skills on their own. Now, why we tutor is important. There are different tutoring services that any Center for Reading and Writing, Writing Center, Writing Tutor provides. Most importantly, on the SUNY Adirondack campus and according to Brooks, we provide grammar assistance, academic research assistance, writing assistance at any stage from drafting all the way to the final completed draft that you might just need assistance with citations for. But we also provide a lending ear and that little instruction about the comma splice error that a writer might not understand, and assisting them in making sure that they understand it later. These assistants are good and helpful, but that's what they are. They're an assistance. Tutors are not supposed to be on a campus writing center, be a writing tutor out in the field. They're not supposed to act as copy editors or someone who is correcting someone's work. It's our job to offer the assistance and teach. Now, there are times when you need copy editing assistance, but it is also important to readers and writers to make sure that when they walk away from a writing appointment or after meeting with a tutor, that they actually understand what it is that they learned. Now, it might be the use of commas or punctuation or capitalization, MLA citations, just to name a few things that you could get as a tutor. But it is the job of the tutor to make sure that the writer at least has an understanding of what you taught them. It's not the job of the tutor just to make the edits and let the student walk away. We act as a individual or group of individuals who are in between teachers and assistants. You're in between that spectrum, and it's their job as tutors to assist but not overly complicate the student's paper by just making changes themselves. Making sure that a student's voice is heard. This is something that Brooks pounds on excessively because you want to make sure that a student understands that each writer has their own voice. By a tutor inserting themselves in that voice, you want to make sure that the student is still heard throughout the paper. By inserting different voices, throwing in quotes that may not belong, it might be detrimental to the student, not just for the purpose of a grade, but also to the fact that the student is no longer the writer or the author. They're now the person who typed the paper, is getting credit for the paper, but it's really not their words. Minimalist tutoring is a method, according to Brooks, that should be the practice in writing centers across the United States and also in other parts of the world where writing, language, English as a second language are all prominent. Now, according to Brooks, we should allow students to do their own work while we just provide them with services that help as the backbone to their own writing. Now, by offering these services, we're giving them that assistance. Giving them that assistance allows the student to have the confidence in their own writing, but also learn the skills that will make for a better writer for themselves in the future. Now, tutors do have responsibilities to their client, and that responsibility is to give them the feedback that they need, lend the assistance with the paper with the concepts that they might not understand, and also listen to the writer. Because a writer is going to be able to tell the tutor or the individual that they're working with what it is that they struggle with within their writing. Now, I know personally for myself, I struggle with overuse of commas. I don't know why. It's something that I can pick up in other people's papers, but I cannot pick it up in my own papers. So when I meet with a tutor myself, that's something that I always let them know, that I can't find my comma errors and I need assistance with that. So the tutors need to listen and take in what it is that their individual student is looking for. Now, Jeff Brooks is quoted as saying, "We sit down with imperfect papers, but our job is to improve these writers." Now, any paper that you sit down with can be imperfect or it can be a perfect paper. But it is for the tutor to understand that for someone to come to a reading and writing center, unless they're required by a professor or an instructor, they're obviously struggling with some sort of concept and they need assistance with it. So for us to sit down, we need to understand that they're struggling with something and that they're human beings too. Every human can make mistakes. So Brooks is saying that we need to sit down with these struggling clients and find out what it is they're struggling with and see if we can provide background assistance through instruction, demonstration, or assistance to help them make their paper better, but also stop with the struggle that they may be having. Now, a tutor versus a copy editor is to prove that we are tutors, we're not copy editors. We're not supposed to sit down with this imperfect paper, take a red pen out, and make all the corrections that the student may want us to do to assist them with the fact that they don't want to make the corrections themselves. They just want to go back to their computer, type in their corrections, and be done with it. So a tutor is to provide the assistance, but not make all the corrections that the student should assist the tutor in finding. Now, a lot of times there's incorrect expectations about what it is the tutors are supposed to be doing. Now, as tutors, we are supposed to help them, but we should not be expected to make a paper better. So a student should not come in and expect that a tutor is going to take a B paper that's written and turn it into that A paper that they so long strive for. Now, a tutor, according to Brooks, should not be telling a student, "Oh, this is a B paper or this is an A paper," because every instructor is going to see the works of another person as different, find different errors. So students come looking for someone to reinforce the idea that their paper is an A or it's a B, but tutors are just there to lend that assistance. And everything with tutoring goes back to being an assistance to the writers or the clients. It's not about making someone else's writing better. Now, student writers have struggles, and the tutors are there to make sure that these struggles are overcame, corrected, and alleviated. So maybe next time the student goes to write something, they aren't worried as much about the struggles that they're facing, and they can just go ahead and write. Now, a tutor's voices can be present within a paper, but tutors must remember that they are professionals, according to Brooks. Now, as professionals, we might strive for something within the English language field that if we insert it into the paper, yes, it's going to help the student, but also it might condone the plagiarism of the student taking our voices and inserting it where their voices are supposed to be. So a tutor should always assist the client or the student with taking in what it is they need to do, developing a new area in the paper, whether it be a sentence or a paragraph, but they should help the student develop it in their own words and not in the words of the tutor. Because by a tutor like myself coming up with a sentence or something different and putting it in a student's paper, yes, it's going to assist our client and student, but it's also going to plagiarize our words and claim it for that of the students. Now, according to Brooks, tutors need to be professional when in the writing center. They're representing either the university or the company in which they're a tutor for. So being professional goes back to the assisting the students, making the students feel comfortable, and being a professional in the field representing writing tutors across the country. Now, when you sit down in a tutoring center, or a tutoring session, with a client, according to Brooks, you're supposed to sit on your dominant side. So whether you be right-handed or left-handed, you're supposed to sit down on that side of your client or student So you're sitting with them, which will assist in you not taking your hand, grabbing a pen